How's it going, everyone? T-Rav here, and welcome to the season finale of Comics with T-Rav. And also, welcome to the very first episode of what might end up being a series, the Subscriber Suggestions Variety Video, or the SSVV, or the for short. I'm very proud to make this. Y'all been leaving me a ton of suggestions, and I honestly don't know what might do well in the YouTube algorithm, what might not. There's some things that I don't have any knowledge of, and I had to do some research to actually make a good video. So this is kind of like going to be like a backdoor pilot for what might end up being future series, while at the same time being its own series as well. Hopefully that makes sense. This is also going to be a thank you video for everyone who left their support and also their suggestions as well, just because I want to show my gratitude for y'all sticking around this channel, and yeah, hopefully y'all will enjoy this video. But yeah, every suggestion I get, I put them all into a list. So I have 8 suggestions. I'm going to be splitting this episode into 2 parts. So stay tuned for part 2 coming hopefully next week if I plan this all out correctly. But yeah, anyway, hope y'all enjoy the very first episode of the Subscriber Suggestion Variety Video for this. And I just want to say too, thank you all for your support. Thank you for leaving likes and comments on my videos. This channel blew up faster than I thought it would. And hopefully we can get more people to watch this channel, and hopefully more suggestions and maybe even submissions for future videos. Who knows? I have no idea where the series is going to go. But yeah, just thank you so much for your support. Anyway, I think I rambled long enough. On to the video.
The multiverse is vast, and every decision you make in one universe can result in the birth of another. Some universes are born as a result of a branching timeline, while others are caused by an amalgam event, an event where multiple timelines collide into each other, creating a new fused universe. My name is Preacher, and join me as I guide you to the many realities of the multiverse. We will start this tour in universe FNHH-26, an amalgam universe where universe FNAF-14 collided with universe HH-19. This universe's events are similar to its parent universe of FNAF-14, where a serial killer named William Afton opened a restaurant chain as a cover-up for his dark hobby. When he died, instead of his soul inhabiting a golden rabbit animatronic, it was instead damned to the fiery pits of hell. After witnessing the untimely death of his children, William Afton became paranoid about his own mortality. He lost grip of right and wrong, and went on a murder spree targeting young children. In the mid-70s, he and his business partner Henry Emily created Fazbear Entertainment and opened a restaurant called Fredbear's Family Diner. Henry created special spring-locked suits of colorful mascot characters that can be worn either by an animatronic or a person. But these suits are incredibly dangerous. If not fastened properly, the wearer of the suits can sustain critical injuries that can result in the loss of life. It was the year 1983, and Henry's daughter, Charlotte, went missing. The last time he saw her, she was outside the restaurant waiting for her father to finish his shift. After several weeks, Charlotte is presumed dead, and her body was never discovered. Of course, we all know what really happened. William Afton took this opportunity to kill her. He believed that souls of children can keep him immortal, and poor Charlotte was his first victim. He would continue this spree of his, mostly targeting children, but he would occasionally kill adults who would get too close to solving the case. And the soul of one of these adults went to hell. He was furious that not only William killed him, but he also killed innocent children as well. Hell wasn't what he pictured though. Instead of constant torture, it was basically like life on Earth, except a bit more risque, with a lot more musical numbers. He settled in his new life, living in an apartment watching TV, then suddenly a commercial aired promoting a hitman company called IMP, or the Immediate Murder Professionals, run by imps and their hellhound. This person immediately picked up the phone and set up an appointment. He wanted William Afton dead. Blitz and his team, Moxie and Millie, opened a portal to Earth. The plan is simple: infiltrate the diner and shoot William in the head and call it a day's work. But alas, nothing is ever that simple. Blitz walked in disguised as a lost kid, looking for his parents, while Moxie was in the parking lot pointing his sniper rifle towards William, who was wearing his Springtrap bunny suit, and Millie was on the fence in case if something goes wrong. Blitz asked William if he saw his parents, and William was confused as to why this child had horns and a tail, but he went along with the bit. He noticed a faint light coming from the bushes next to the parking lot. Then he told the lost child to follow him to his office, where he had a phone he could use to call his parents. Blitz went along, and while walking, William suddenly picked up a knife from the kitchen and locked the office door behind him. asking the obvious demon to take off the silly disguise. Blitz asks what gave him away, then suddenly Millie drops out the fence wielding a combat knife. Moxie ran inside and tried to kick the door down, but it didn't budge. He'll try several more times, then Millie asked him to shoot the lock, which he did, and then he kicked it open. They had William surrounded, but William sucker punched Blitz across the face and throws the knife at Moxie and runs off. Millie jumps on his back, stabbing through the tough hide of the Springtrap suit, causing some of the locks to penetrate William's skin. William ran into the kitchen and turned on the oven and threw Millie inside, blocking the door with a chair, and tried to run for the front exit, but Moxie was there pointing a gun at William and started firing. William was surprisingly nimble in his bulky suit and grabbed some pizza trays to shield himself from the barrage of bullets. Millie, now on fire, breaks free from the oven and tackles William again, unknowingly spreading fire all over this surprisingly flammable restaurant. With the building ablaze, Blitz walked towards William, saying, "Any last words?" William spits blood in Blitz's face, then says, "I always come back." And with that, a loud shot can be heard. The team, now exhausted, opened a portal back to hell and went back to their homes. Because of his many sins, William's soul is now in hell, where he would open a restaurant called Hellbear's Pizzeria. He heard of this new hotel being built by Lucifer's daughter that is meant to rehabilitate sinners, but William had no interest in being redeemed. He meant what he said to Blitz: he always comes back. And he remembers seeing a strange book that Blitz was carrying, and right before he died, he saw them exiting through a portal back to hell. This book is his ticket back to Earth. We will continue our tour in a similar universe, Universe DC-HH-26, an amalgam universe of DC-52-35 and HH-19. In this world, the Waynes are a famous rich family. The patriarch Thomas is the CEO of Wayne Tech. Wayne Tech develops high-grade weaponry for the US military, but little did the Gothamites know, Wayne Tech is also funded by the Falcone crime family. Thomas and Carmine Falcone go way back. Thomas was originally a weapons dealer for Carmine, and he came up with the idea of selling the weapons he made to the US government at an extremely high markup. His famous weapons are a cape that when charged with static can stiffen into a wingsuit, a sonar boomerang, flexible bulletproof armor, and, oddly enough, a shark repellent. Thanks for looking up for Thomas. This business venture made him the richest man in Gotham. But he didn't know that Carmine was also selling the weapons to America's enemies. Thomas didn't like this idea, but he let it slide because it was making more money than he could possibly dream of. But when his wife, Martha, got pregnant, Thomas was regretting being close to the Falcones. He had to think what was best for the baby. He waited 10 years after the birth of his son, Bruce, to finally cut all ties to Carmine, a decision that haunts the Waynes to this day. On Bruce's 10th birthday, Thomas and Martha took him to the movies, and when they left, they were ambushed by one of Carmine's hitmen, Joe Chill. It was there, in a dark alley, 2 loud gunshots can be heard. This isn't where Thomas' story ends, however. For the sins he committed, his soul was damned to hell, and in the form of a red-eyed bat demon. As for Martha, she was unaware of Thomas' ties to one of Gotham's many mafias, and her soul was sent to heaven. Thomas felt like this new life of his was well deserved. But on every dark night, he would stare up in the skies, wishing he could see Martha again, and apologize for every wrong deed he's done. While walking through hell, he sees a hotel. He recognizes it from the ads on the radio, the Hazbin Hotel, a place for sinners to repent and rehabilitate themselves in hope to be redeemed and ascend to heaven. But no one was really sure if such a thing could be possible, until Sir Pentious was killed during the war with heaven, and his sacrifice was enough to redeem his soul. Thomas decided, what the hell, and gave this hotel a shot. He feels like he can't be redeemed, but he tries to follow Charlie's teachings and become the best version of himself he can be. Afraid of another war, he had special guns crafted by Carmilla that could be used to slay angels, but he had the guns custom made to be the same model used by Joe Chill, as a constant reminder of his sins, so he won't forget why he is in hell in the first place. He does everything Charlie tells him to do, but he feels no closer to redemption. But he is reminded that redeeming one's soul starts with a sorry. How can he apologize to Martha if he can't be with her? Maybe redemption is not cut out for Thomas. So he left the hotel. He still has the angel-killing guns Carmilla gave him, which can also kill demons. So, to let out his frustrations, he hunts down the worst sinners he can find and kills them permanently. If killing the worst scum of hell can't redeem him, then all hopes are lost. That was until he saw an imp family walking down the street, and their child reminds him of Bruce. He stopped the bloodshed and gave the hotel another shot. He has a long road ahead of him, but it will all be worth it to be with his wife once more. We will visit another Amalgam universe, Universe MC-MHA-26, a universe that spawned from Universe MC-616-39 and Universe MHA-14. In this world, 80% of Earth's population are born with powers they call quirks. Because of this, many people grow up becoming superheroes. Thus, schools were made to train the future generations on how to use their quirks to stop villains. The top school in Japan is UA, and almost everyone who wants to be a hero tries to join, but some don't end up making the cut. Yamashiro Yoshi was lucky enough to join such an elite school. He was born with the quirk Spider, and can do practically anything a spider can do. He can stick to any surfaces, his body is covered in microscopic sensitive hairs that alert him to danger, he has the proportional strength of a spider, and he can spit non-lethal venom to cause temporary paralysis. In his first year, he was in the support class. He wanted to be in the hero class, but they're all booked. Classic Yamashiro luck, he thought. While in the support class, he made special gauntlets that contain web fluids that allow him to shoot webs from his wrists, but he has to constantly refuel them when they run out. Yoshi grew up in a poor family. He never knew his parents. Instead, he was raised by his aunt and uncle. Yoshi was a very intelligent kid for his age, and because of this, he was enrolled in UA a year early. Summer vacation rolled around, and Yoshi spent his vacation working odd jobs to help his aunt and uncle. He was a pizza delivery boy and a freelance photographer. They didn't pay well, but his luck might have turned around when he saw a flyer advertising a quirk wrestling tournament. He doesn't have his license yet, so he can't legally use his powers outside school, so he made a wrestling persona, the Human Spider, and joined the tournament. His first opponent was Crusher Hogan, a man with a strength-boosting quirk. Yoshi was sweeping around the ring, dodging Hogan's attacks, but he was quickly grabbed by the brute. Hogan started to squeeze Yoshi with all of his might, but with Yoshi's spider strength, he managed to use his legs as leverage, pushing against Hogan's body, escaping his grasp. Yoshi is getting exhausted, but he has to win the prize money. Hogan started to run towards Yoshi, and Yoshi leaps high into the air. Yoshi pulls up his mask and spits venom at Hogan, paralyzing him. As he lands back on the mat, he uses the rope around the arena to slingshot himself at Hogan, knocking him over, pinning him. Yoshi won the first round. The second round came, and his next opponent was a man who goes by Bonesaw. This was a cage match, and it was timed as well, with 3 minutes on the clock. Bonesaw tried to rush Yoshi, but Yoshi jumps up, grabbing the bars of the cage. He spits his venom at Bonesaw, but quickly learns that he was immune to it. Bonesaw hits the bars, and Yoshi loses his grip, falling on the mat. Bonesaw was about to stomp his boot onto Yoshi's head, but with his spider sense kicking in, he backflips away. There wasn't really much Yoshi could do in this fight, so he used his brute force to fight Bonesaw. He usually pulls his punches as to not seriously hurt people, but he decided to use 10% of his strength and starts fighting back. It seems to be working, so he amps up to 20%, then 30%, and with the final blow, Yoshi knocks out Bonesaw. He will go through waves upon waves, one with the person who has a scorpion quirk and one with the rhino quirk. He fought his way to the top and won the prize, but he has to reveal who he was in order to receive the money. And he obviously couldn't do that, so he returned home empty-handed. As he made back to his house, there were police, heroes, and paramedics there. There was a home invasion, and his uncle was murdered. Yoshi could have been there to protect his family, but instead he was participating in a tournament, and now his uncle is gone. It was there Yoshi learned that with great powers, there must also come great responsibilities. So when the next school year rolled back around, Yoshi enrolled in the hero course so he can become Japan's #1 hero and protect those who can't protect themselves. While in the hero course, he made friends with a kid who had a fire quirk, Arashi Jonochi, the younger brother to the famous hero Arashi Su, the fantastic invisible woman. But Yoshi felt more comfortable training alone. He also has a habit of talking to himself out loud. It was time to pick a name, and seeing that he can't use his human spider name because that will reveal that he was using his powers illegally, he decided to go with something else, the stupendous web-swinging Spider-Man. Now onto Universe SPMC-25. This world is stuck in time, where the Victorian Age never went away. Heroes like the Avengers formed to stop the villainous group known as Hydra, but there seems to be an anomaly. The life of a young boy seems to be forgotten by the residents of this world. Bailey Bartholomew Briggs, or Bart, was the apprentice to the wall-crawling vigilante, Spider-Man, but an experiment performed by Hydra caused the world to forget his existence. Bart grew up in an orphanage with other kids his age. No one was being adopted, but some of the kids wind up missing. Turns out, the person who runs his orphanage was a mad scientist who worked at Oscorp, Melodia Stillwell, or as the other kids call her, Madam Monstrosity, on account that she experiments on kids, grafting animal DNA onto them, turning them into monsters. Bart found out about this when it was his turn to be experimented on. After she was fired from Oscorp, Melodia took her research with her to continue her experiments in secret. One of her research was using radioactive spider DNA to cure diseases. She injected Bart with the spider DNA and watched as his body mutated into a man-spider hybrid. Bart grew an extra set of eyes and sharp fangs. Other than that, he seemed to survive the mutation, and was stored in Melodia's lab for future studies. Bart is devastated by his new monstrous appearance, until he meets a friend of his, Ellie. In order to cheer Bart up, Ellie starts cracking jokes about Melodia's experiments. Then Bart chimed in with one that his mother told him. What would you get if you crossed an elephant with a rhino? Hell if I know. Bart and Ellie started laughing. Then Melodia walked in, saying, That's not a bad idea. Crossing two animal species. She ordered her mutated animal-human hybrid to grab Ellie and create her own Hell if I know. Bart begged her to stop, saying they were only joking, but it was too late. She already made her decision, and now Bart had lost his friend. He managed to escape Melodia's lab and is living in the streets of New York. Bart learned how to change back to normal, but he still needs to practice on controlling his new monstrous form. Then suddenly, he was back to be attacked by the notorious serial killer, the Ripper of New York, Cletus Cassidy. That was until a masked man jumped in front of Bart, protecting him. This man is labeled by the press as a menace, but to Bart, he was his favorite adventure, Spider-Man. Spider-Man tells Bart to run, but Bart starts to change into his man-spider form and joins Spider-Man in a fight. Together they quickly beat Cletus and notified the authorities. Spider-Man congratulates Bart on the team-up, and Bart asked why he wasn't scared of him. Spider-Man saw his fair share of monsters, but he knew Bart wasn't one of them deep down. Spider-Man tells Bart to go back to his family, then Bart tilts his head down and says he has no one to go back to. Spider-Man puts his hand on Bart's shoulder and kneels down to his level and says, How about you stick with me then? This was of course before the universe forgot about him. He will find Spider-Man again and tell him that he was his protege, but Spider-Man doesn't believe him, thinking he would never put a 10-year-old in danger, and brings Bart to a homeless shelter. Bart will continue to be the hero Spider-Boy, but because of his monstrous looks, he'll have a hard time gaining the trust of the civilians.
Alright, and there we have it. And I really like how the art turned out for this video. The main challenge was to try to mimic other people's art styles. And I feel like with the Hazbin Hotel one, / Heluva boss, the art style is very simple. It actually kind of reminds me sort of the Jonan Vasquez, Johnny the Homicidal Maniac / Invader Sim art style, kind of, sort of. That early 2000s cartoon style. But with the Hazbin Hotel Batman drawing I did, it looks more like Bruce Timm's art style than Fizzy Pop's, but I still like how the art turned out for them. So the original suggestion for the Springtrap design was the person wanted Springtrap in Hazbin Hotel. I decided to, story-wise, go more for the Heluva boss. It takes place in the same universe, I'm sure. I think it's called the Heliverse, because the Hazbin Hotel is focused more on redemption, which for William Afton, I personally don't really see how you can redeem a serial killer who goes after children. But then again, I'm not God, and I don't claim to be God, so yeah. I mean, you could probably write a story of redeeming such character, but I'm not the type of person who could do justice to that kind of story. And as for the Batman one, I decided to go with the Thomas Wayne version of Batman because, well, in almost every iteration of Batman stories, his parents are the one that gets killed, so it makes sense for Tom's soul to be sent to hell because he dies. And in some stories, the Waynes are part of like the Gotham Mafia storyline with Carmine Falcone or Falcone, or however you pronounce his name. So I figure redemption makes more sense for Thomas Wayne than it does William Afton. Also, the red and black just suits the whole demon aesthetic. And as for Spider-Man in the My Hero Academia, I want to throw some nods to the Toei Spider-Man, so I gave him like the Toei Spider-Man web shooters, and also gave him the last name if you can call it the last name, because it comes before the first name in Japan. I think, at least that's how I wrote it as, because I think that's how you do it. I think it's the family name than the given name. But anyway, so Spider-Man gave him the name Yamashiro Yoshi. One, because I wanted to keep the alliteration, like, Peter Parker, Miles Morales. It just made sense. And also, the Yamashiro part came from Takuya Yamashiro, I think that's his name, in the Toei Spider-Man series. Because they both take place in Japan. My Hero Academia and Toei Spider-Man, they both take place in Japan. And I suck at coming up with names, so I just figured, why not just throw in some Japanese Spider-Man references with this design? And the Steampunk Spider-Boy design, it's actually just my art style. I wish I gave him gadgets, like how I did with the other Steampunk Marvel designs I did in a previous video. I just couldn't really figure out what to give him, other than another grappling hook, web shooter thing like I gave the Spider-Man design. I haven't really read that much Spider-Boy, and as you can tell by the storyline, the story is very heavily referencing the first issue of Spider-Boy that goes over his origin. I just threw some extra stuff, like I gave him the name Bart because I just want to make it different enough but similar as well. And just added some few extra stuff, like he fought the Ripper of New York, Cletus Cassidy. I really like that name. It might be a bit too edgy, but then again, Carnage is a very edgy character, so it just makes sense, right? But yeah, overall, I really like how the art turned out for this. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for part 2, which should hopefully come next week. So, that's it. See ya!